Hello, everyone, and welcome to Africa Fire Mission's weekly virtual training session. My name's Mike, and I'm the programs director here at Africa Fire Mission, and we're so happy that you took time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's training. Today, we're joined by Mark Vanderfeist. Mark has served probably just about every rank you could in the fire service. Did some volunteered work in his career. Uh, Currently a chief officer. Mark's trained with us a couple times in Kenya. He's also a well-known writer on fire subjects. It seems every time I research a topic to do a training in my own station, the first article that pops up is written by Mark. So he's a great resource there. Glad to have him joining us to share some knowledge today. He's going to be talking about leadership principles. Mark's a heck of a leader, so it's going to be a great class. Before we get started with that, I'm going to pass things over to Errol Sianga. Errol is Africa Fire Mission's fire safety advocate. He's going to get us started with a couple words of encouragement.
Thank you very much, Chief Mike. Hi, Chief Mark. Good to see you. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome. As we start at today's topic, we'll draw some inspirations from the book of Joshua. We remember Joshua was a leader who led the Israelites also after taking over from Moses. So, our word of encouragement comes from the book of Joshua, chapter number 1, from verse 7. Okay, Joshua number 1, from verse 7. Uh, you can continue reading onwards as you see how Joshua commanded his officers and troops. So it says, verse 7 of the book of Joshua, chapter 1, be strong and very courageous. Be uh, be careful to obey all the law, my servant. It says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right and or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. So we need to always focus on the word of God each and every moment. And also as we head off to our departments and reaching out to each and everyone, we should listen and stick to the standard operating procedures that we're having in our departments as well. So thank you very much, and back to you, Mike.
All right, thank you, Errol. Good tie-in with today's training topic. Appreciate you and everything that you're doing to try to advance and promote the fire service throughout all of Africa. Before we get started here, let me just touch on a couple of quick administrative notes if you stick around for at least 70% of today's training, which is usually about 40 or 45 minutes. You'll receive a certificate of attendance for today's training. The name that's on that certificate is the name that you're registered through Zoom. So if you want to rename yourself, you can make any adjustments you might want to the name for your certificate. If you've got other people sharing your screen with you, keep an eye in the chat. I'll drop my email address in there so you can email me a list of who else is joining with you so I can get them a certificate of attendance as well. If you get cut off, your network drops, maybe you have to respond to an emergency. There's some other ways that you can earn that certificate. If you go over to our webpage, www.africafiremission.org, there's a resources tab there. It's filled with all sorts of great free resources for African firefighters. Uh, Under that resources tab, under the training materials, you'll find a link to our Google Drive. That Google Drive has recordings of all of our trainings we've done so far this year. If you fill out the form, watch the video, answer a couple questions to let me know that you watched the whole video, I can get you a certificate of attendance for those classes that you may have missed. Uh, when we get finished here at the top of the hour, we're going to transition over into our tea time. Errol's going to host our tea time for us. And it's a time where you can ask some more questions about today's class, discuss it, do some networking. If you take a look at the chat, we've got guys from, frankly, all over the world here joining us today. So if you've got the time in the bundles, invite you to stick around for tea time at the top of the hour. That's enough out of me. I'm going to pass things over to my good friend Mark here to get us started with today's training.
All right, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Errol. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our session today on Wednesday. I'm glad to be with you folks once again. It's been a while since I've been with all of you by the virtual sense. So it's good to be back to discuss some important topics of the fire service with all of you. Just so you guys are aware, I am on duty, so you may hear if a call comes in. I got a speaker in my office, so you may hear that come over. It's not a big deal, but it may interrupt, maybe, hopefully not, but it may. And just be aware of that. Also, too, it's freezing cold up here. So we got snow again, and we're in the middle of a fight between spring and winter. So spring's not exactly ready to come in yet. Winter's still holding on, and it's temperature wise, when I came in this morning, it was around 14 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly like minus 8, minus 10 Celsius on the Celsius scale. So it's kind of cold. So I don't like the cold. I hate the cold. I'd rather be where you folks are, where it's warm and enjoying the sun and the warmth. So our topic for today is on leadership. And it's a very vast topic to discuss. We're going to focus on maybe a couple attributes of leadership that I'm going to walk us through with my little slide presentation that I put together for us. But being a leader is not for everybody. Everybody that's in the fire service is not meant to be in a leadership position. A lot of individuals want to be a leader, but again, they're not maybe meant to be in that role. There are a lot of individuals who are leaders who should not be in that position. I'm sure you can think in your own departmental area or in your experience with work or your life where you may have encountered people in leadership positions who were the wrong person. And we certainly do see that in the political arena, where in politics, people get elected, and you look and you watch what they do, and you listen, and you go, yep, that was the wrong person to be elected into that position. So we do have sometimes in the fire service the same thing. We have captains, we have lieutenants, we have deputy fire chiefs, platoon chiefs, battalion chiefs, shift commanders, you name it. Doesn't matter what kind of title that person may hold. Sometimes they are the wrong person to be in that position. But other times we do have the right people in those spots. So as we're looking at this topic today, you have to be thinking to yourself and asking to yourself, if you are a officer of some rank or a person of leadership in terms of maybe you've been put in charge of some people, you may hold a lower rank, maybe a corporal, sergeant, something like that. You got to be asking yourself, am I the right person for this position? Am I exhibiting these leadership qualities that are expected not from my boss, but are expected from those who I oversee. And that's one of the unique aspects of being a leader. When you get promoted to be, say, a captain, people think, "Hey, great, I'm a captain. I get to sit in a certain seat, and I get to have privileges, and I get to boss people around." But it's actually the opposite. You become, at that point, a servant. And the best leadership trait, if I could sum it up this way, as far as my introduction, is the leadership through servant leadership, meaning that you are there to serve the interests of who you're overseeing, your subordinates, as well as you're serving the interests of those to who you report to, your higher ups, as well as, and we forget this, you are there to serve the interests of the public to whom you serve. So in that position, you are certainly, yes, a person of influence, a person who does give commands and does give orders. And yes, there are sometimes the privileges that come with that rank and title and position, but mostly you are there as a servant to serve the interests of those to whom you've been placed in charge of. And that's a great responsibility for any one person to take on themselves. So as you look at the rank and structure of a fire department, where you may have captains and lieutenants and maybe even lower ranks like corporals and sergeants, firefighters, you have deputy fire chiefs, assistant chiefs, and then the actual top person, the fire chief. As you ascend up in that rank structure and you become the fire chief, you have more responsibility placed upon you because your servant leadership role is expanded greatly because as you move up, you're overseeing more. And that's where it is a great responsibility. And to be a fire chief, yes, it is a privilege to be in that role, but it does come with a lot of responsibility. You are responsible for a lot of people, a lot of equipment, a lot of money. You're responsible to the entire population to whom you are the fire chief over as far as a department. And with that comes a lot of other factors like stress and other things like that that do make the job a little sometimes tedious and a little difficult at times. But nonetheless, if your aspirations are to become a fire chief one day or move up the ranks to be that leader, just be prepared for what you are taking on to yourself because it is sometimes a very lonely position. It's funny that I am a platoon chief. That's where I am right now, and I'm also on my days off from my shift here at the fire department. I'm also a fire chief of another department in Michigan over in the U.S. And as I'm in that chief role, yes, it's a very lonely spot because you have to make decisions that are not popular. You have to lead departmental initiatives that, again, are not maybe popular. You have to sometimes be the bad guy. And when you are that individual to make those decisions and to act on what's right, you'll quickly see how fast people move away from you. And that's why I say it's a very lonely position because your circle of friends and circle of coworkers dwindles immediately down to one, and that's you because you're the top dog, you're the boss. But enough of that introduction. I'm going to actually bring up my screen here, and I'm going to share it with all of you so you can see what we have. And let me go. Everybody should be able to hopefully see that. I'm going to bring up my title slide if I can. There we go. Okay, so simple little title, The 21st Century Leader. Right? That's what you and I are. Hopefully, we are trying to be leaders. We are leaders, and we're gonna have as it says there, a candid conversation. So I'm not looking to finger wag and say you should be doing this. It's more so of here's some points that we should be considering and having that candid talk. Candid talk refers to let's just cut all the nice flowery language out of it and let's just get straight to the truth or right to the point as to in this case what you should be thinking and doing as that leader. So here's the first one. All right. I've been doing all the talking, and right now, hopefully, you are listening. You are using those ears to use your active listening skills. So a good leader is somebody who will open their ears and listen and be restraining themselves from always wanting to speak first. They'll actually listen first and then speak. There is a point in time to respond quickly. There are certain situations that you may be dealt with that you have to deal with and are confronted with where it requires you to immediately respond because you need to interject and say something to either correct, stop, or remove a particular situation. So an example might be you may see a coworker walking across the parking lot or walking across the station bay floor and they don't see the trip hazard that they're walking towards. And to prevent them from falling, you may stop out and say, "Stop, look down below." Right? So there's a case where you may need to interject right away and speak quickly. But there are other times when People may bring a complaint, they may bring a concern, they may bring an accusation. And it's always good and always best to open your ears, listen, process the information, and then reply. In the book of, I think it's Proverbs, it does discuss how a foolish man will utter his whole mind, meaning that an individual who's not thinking or not using wisdom as their tool will be a fool because what's up here comes right out of here without any filtering, without any processing of thought or consideration of what I'm trying to say. Is it the right thing or the wrong thing? And that's how you can be a fool by uttering all your mind without taking that second or two. You have to also have thick skin, as that second bullet point says there, because as a person of leadership position, you're going to hear all kinds of complaints, concerns, finger pointing. It's your fault, or it's you're the reason why we can't have this, or we want to do this, but you're saying no because you're being the big bad daddy. So sometimes you got to grow thick skin. And as people want to vent or voice their concerns, it's just like letting water falling off a duck's back or off your back. Don't let it affect you. So having that thick skin is going to help. If you're a thin-skinned individual, meaning that every comment that you receive, if it affects you emotionally, again, that might be a thought process moment. Say, am I the right person for this position? Because everything I receive affects me in this emotional way, and I'm too quick to react. And that's not going to do well for you in the long run. All right, here we go. Another one. Never stop learning. All right, just because you're a leadership person, a captain, an officer of some sort, it it does not negate your learning days at that point. You still need to be learning. In fact, you have to learn more because you need to know more. You have to know more than the people to whom you're leading and overseeing. Because if you don't know it, how can you expect them to know it? Because when they come to you and say, "Hey, can you explain to me why we do this or why we've purchased this or why we've gone and done a particular thing?" You have the answer for them. You can explain to them exactly the why question. There's nothing wrong with firefighters asking why. It's a good thing because they're learning. Their critical thinking skills are working up here, and as they're processing information, something's not quite making sense. So they're going to ask you, can you explain to me? And that's why you need to keep learning so that you know more than what they do, so you can adequately explain to them, hey, here's the reasons why, or here's some of the in-depth knowledge that you may not have thought about to back up why we're doing a certain tactic or why we're going to implement a certain procedure to make our job a lot easier in the process. So learning comes in many forms. Obviously, you're doing it right now, right? You're here right now today and you're learning through this particular medium, but there are numerous ways, and we are very blessed with technology today that we have access to a lot of resources on the internet. We have a lot of resources through videos on YouTube, TikTok, um, even through hard copy like books, magazines, photocopying, papers like reports and other things. So we have a great access to a lot of resources that we can use to help us learn. So there really is no excuse as to why, even myself, why I cannot learn something. So I'll show you. When I came to work today, I brought my all my stuff, and I brought with me, which came in the mail yesterday, fresh off the press, my current fire engineering magazine. And this is for the month of March. And I brought it because I plan to read part of it while I'm at work, because this is where I get to learn for myself. So it's not just me preaching it, I have to also practice and do the same thing myself. The last bullet point there mentions conferences and conventions. That's really a great place to go learn because besides just learning something, you're also networking, socializing, and you're able to develop a bit better of a camaraderie and a vaster network with fellow peers. So, as Chief Mike mentioned in the beginning, yes, I've been twice out to Kenya to teach. That is a conference or convention where many of you have come in together from far away, and you've been present to take part in some of those classes and learning opportunities. But you're also there having great fellowship. You're also there with each other, building up camaraderie. You're sharing stories, maybe networking, and that's how you as a leader develop because you learn some of the soft skills that we don't have time to sometimes teach in life that we pick up in these conferences and conventions and with those networking opportunities. Okay, never stop learning also involves looking in your backyard. So wherever you serve, your station, where it's set up, where you respond from, that's your backyard. And you want to learn what's happening or notice what's going on in my backyard every day of the week. What's being changed. So just again, example for myself, I came into work this morning, and as I was driving in, right before our station, they're doing some underground construction where they're putting a new sewer line in, and they have a temporary stoplight on the road to have one-way traffic control while they have the excavator out there doing the work. So that's something new. So when I came to work today, I told my crews, my captains, with their crews, hey, be advised, we got a temporary traffic light just down the road from our station. So when we go to calls and we have to go down that direction, there may be some traffic backed up and we have to swerve and navigate around that traffic signal. That's part of learning. And that's with me looking in my own backyard, what's happening in that backyard. And you'd be amazed what's going on. What's being built new, what's being torn down, what's being changed, what's diverted, what's blocking the roads today. That's all part of knowing your community. Okay, here's something my little saying I've always used a lot when I do go teach and speak. And when it comes to learning, I've always used this, and that is do not wait to be spoon-fed. So for those of you who have children, you know what that means when you have a new child, a newborn baby, and that baby is growing, and after a few months, when they've stopped being breastfed from mom, and they can start to be, eating solid foods or different foods, either with us feeding it to them or them themselves feeding it. A lot of times you have to help by spoon feeding, bring the spoon to them, and here you go, have a bite of this, and then have a bite of that. That's spoon feeding. And a lot of firefighters in our industry, and it may not be the case where you guys are, but I can say where I work and where I'm a fire chief, I do see this quite a bit. A lot of firefighters are wanting to wait to be spoon fed. You come and feed me, and then I will learn. As opposed to when you're hungry, like I am right now. Actually, I'm kind of hungry for breakfast. But if when you're hungry, you go to the fridge or the kitchen and go, okay, what can I eat? What can I make real quick to help feed me so that I'm not hungry? That's also part of learning. Seek out those opportunities. Go find them. Do not wait for your department to feed you. You go feed yourself. And in the process, you will become a much better leader because you're showing to those who are watching that I'm taking the step to become better at my job. I'm not going to wait for somebody to allow me to become better. I'm doing it. And so if I'm doing it, it means you can do it too. And you kind of set the example. You lead by example um, by feeding yourself in this capacity. All right, what else can we be doing as a leader? That is getting involved. So as a leader, obviously you're overseeing people, right? So where I am right now as a platoon chief, I'm overseeing two officers, two captains, and I have two crews of four, so eight. I have a crew of nine, or sorry, 10 individuals that I'm overseeing. Plus I oversee a couple of admin people too. I need to get to know them. So I get involved. I talk with them. I understand or ask questions about what they're doing and how their day's been or how was their vacation. But the point is, you need to get to know and get involved with your subordinates and not just be, I'm a captain and that's it. I don't talk to you. If you want something, you come see me. But if not, you won't see me ever unless there's a call. That's not getting involved, and it's not showing the empathy in essence of you relating to your fellow crew members with what they may be going through in terms of family issues, maybe employment issues, maybe just everyday life, maybe discussing politics and discussing other sports things. You can show that empathy by relating. Maybe I do agree with the fact that they should have fired Coach Franklin years ago as opposed to only last year, right? So that's how we get involved and we are able to relate with our subordinates as opposed to being isolated and being on our own island. Okay, so what we can get involved by having meals together, having a meal. The picture you see there is a shift that I used to be on, and that was our I think we are doing Christmas dinner that day, and everybody got together and we had our Christmas meal. But it's not just for one time of the year. We do this all the time. So again, where I work here today, it's tradition that we have breakfast together and we have dinner together. So every day there is an individual who's in charge, responsible for collecting all the ingredients, and they will set the menu for breakfast and set the menu for dinner, and they make the meal. We help pay for it, but they make it, and then when it's ready to be time to eat, we all come together at the kitchen table in the kitchen there, and we sit down at a table, all of us, and we partake and we have that time of fellowship as we break bread. It's no different than having your own family. When you have your family at home, I trust most of you do the same thing with your family, where you will have that time with the wife, husband, children, you're all together and you eat, but you're also enjoying each other's company as you eat. It's also time to speak, talk, go over what's gone on for the day, bring up issues, have have open discussions, and that's how that development between each other starts to be created. So it's no different from the family life into the fire hall life where we can adopt the same principle. Have meals together, eat together, enjoy each other's company, and sustain that tradition of doing so. Well, I mentioned family, so it's a good segue into this point, and that is, being a leader means you want to embody the job. And it's just a fancy term meaning you want to enjoy it, you want to be a part of it, you want to really embrace what you're doing. And when we do not want to forget our family. A lot of firefighters, they love firefighting so much that they sometimes forget their families. And over a period of time, weeks, months, and maybe years, it takes a toll on the family where the family's excluded. There's distance between, in this case, the husband and the family, or the husband and the wife, and or reversal, wife and husband. And because that distance, the family unit breaks down, and then we go down the path of divorce, separation, domestic issues, and so on. Children, they suffer the most from this a lot of times. And so the point I'm kind of, I guess, making is don't forget your family. Include your family. I work a 48-hour shift. So I'm here for 40. I work two 24s back to back. So I'm here for 2 days straight. I cannot forget my family, but I'm not there with them. So how do I include them while I'm away for 48 hours? Well, again, with technology, it's easy because I can use my phone and on using FaceTime on Facebook, I can actually speak to my wife and I can see her, she can see me. And this may sound corny, but sometimes as I'm at my desk working as a platoon chief at nighttime, my phone's on. She's got her FaceTime on, and while she's in the kitchen doing some cleaning up or at the kitchen table reading mail, the phone's just on and we're just there working away, but we're in each other's company through a phone. Like I'm actually there, but I'm not there. That's how you can include your family without being there physically with them. That's just one way. What else can we do? Bring them to the station. The picture you see in the if you can see that picture, you got those are my three young children. Obviously, they're not that young today. All of them are in their 20s. They're all adults and grown up. But when I was working on shift and as a firefighter, there would be days where they come by for a visit, all of them. And there was a point in time where the one station I worked at was close to our home. So when I was on shift, my wife would make dinner and she would bring the dinner to the station and we'd have dinner together outside on the picnic table, all of us as a family. But it was a way for us um, to spend time together and not be excluded from when daddy's away and he's gone for a full 24 or two 24s for 48 and kind of forgotten about with that family. So you do want to keep your family included. The second point that says keep things separate, what that refers to is when you're at work, we obviously deal with a lot of stuff. We see a lot of bad things. We deal with a lot of bad calls. We see the bad things in life. And we do want to keep that at work. We don't want to bring it home. There's a time and place to talk about it with maybe your wife or your husband. If it's the other way around, as far as a wife being a firefighter and she comes home, there's a time to uh, speak with them about it. But ideally, you want to keep what you dealt with at work, so that when you go home, you're there with your home and you're fully invested with them at that time, and not thinking about what I just dealt with, and not carrying that baggage over with you into your home life. And by doing so, again, you're looking out for your family unit in their best interests by keeping that separation between the two of them, as opposed to uh, bringing them into that kind of work world and them knowing all about what you've dealt with, everything's going on, and what's affecting you may later on affect them too down the road, which is not going to be a good thing for everybody. Okay, so some of the laws of leadership. I can tell you, as far as a resource for a book, if any of you have access to a library or can get your hands on a book, or if somebody already has this and you want to pass it around, there's a good book that I've taken some of these things from. It's called The Laws of Leadership, and it's written by a guy named John Maxwell. And that's a very good book. It's not new, it's been around for a long time. It was a book that I had to use myself when I was in school, when I was working on my master's program. It was one of the assigned books to read and to kind of dive into and pull things out of. And so I've pulled a few of the laws that John details in his book out here for us because they're very applicable. Even though his book is meant for the business world, the corporate world, it applies even to the fire service side of it. So the one law is the law of influence. As a leader, the first question is who influences you, right? It's either going to be a positive influence or a negative influence. So who you hang around with, who you associate with, who you look to as a mentor or as a person to guide you, they will either be a positive influence or they can be a negative influence. If they're a positive influence, that's great because they will then guide you in the right way, give you good advice, give you good direction to do your job in a much more professional way. But if it's a negative influencer, and there's a call coming in, so he's
One respond 19 Bicentennial Trail for residential alarm from the monitoring company. 19 Bicentennial Trail.
it's going to go again. So we'll hold on while they finish the second set of tones.
One respond 19 Bicentennial Trail. residential alarm from the monitoring company.
Okay, so they can be a negative influence as well. And if they're a negative influence, that's going to lead you down a wrong path, give you bad advice, give you bad wisdom, bad guidance, and you'll become a very ineffective leader. So who who you have as a peer group is going to help influence you with how you're going to be that leader. That's the first question. The second question is, who are you influencing? Because now, as you are overseeing other people as that supervisor and that leader, you are influencing them. And so again, you could be the person who's giving good positive influence, or you might be the person giving negative influence. And if you're the person giving negative influence, you're going to have to, you should recheck and maybe question yourself, am I the right person for this position? Or why am I giving negative influence? Why am I a negative influence on these individuals? What am I bringing? What baggage do I have? Is this because someone else is telling me this, or because I'm just having a bad day, perhaps? Is it because of other reasons? But regardless, you got to ask yourself why. Why am I being so negative in this situation here? But it's very important that you choose the right person. Choose the right person to whom you're going to have that influence for you so that you can be a better leader in the long run. Sorry, I'm just turning on that volume there for you. Okay, another law, the law of process. Okay, so the law of process refers to your success or your path to becoming a great leader. And as that first bullet point says, it's no overnight success, meaning that today you're just a firefighter and tomorrow you're promoted to a captain and you're going to be the best captain of all time. It doesn't happen in one night. It takes time. Just as a child, when a child is born and a child grows and gets bigger and stronger and learns and develops, it takes years for them to become a full-grown man. Well, it's no different than being a leader. A leader develops and grows over time. So as you take on that role of leadership, you're like a newborn baby. And now you have to learn how to walk and crawl and speak and think and process. And as you do that over time, you start to grow daily and you become that, as it says there, a man of action. You become a great leader. So don't expect that I have to be a great person now. It will take time. And if other people, others, your subordinates, if they expect you to be that great leader now, they need to also realize it takes time. It's a learning process and it's continual every day, daily growth to become that great leader and have those qualities to be exhibited. Okay, the law of solid ground. So as a leader, you want to have your feet planted upon solid ground. Why? Because it gives you that rooting, or back up. It gives you the way to root yourself so that when you're facing adversity or when you're facing other issues, you are able to stand upon principles, ethics, morals to help guide and govern yourself through that process. And it does mention there about trust, right? So you need to be a trusted leader. So as you're overseeing other individuals, they're looking to you. They need to trust you that you're going to make right decisions, that you're going to be looking out for their best interests, that what you say is in fact the truth, that what you say comes is going to actually happen. So if you're going to do something, hey, I'm going to buy you dinner, you actually go and buy them dinner and not just say, well, I'm going to buy you dinner and never do it, right? You become a person who quickly is known as you say, but don't do. So trust is a key thing. And that goes with that solid ground of if I'm well rooted on solid principles, solid ethics, solid moral character, and solid moral upbringing, I'm going to hopefully be that trustworthy person and I'll gain more respect from my peers and I'll gain more respect from my supervisor as well above me because they will see that what I'm doing is very much in a trustworthy fashion and that I am a man of my word. I am also a person who is um, ethically practicing in terms of the workplace, that I'm not just working on bad ethics or working on bad morals, but I'm actually practicing what's been ingrained to me as far as having that good ethical code of conduct, having good morals, and so on to not be compromised in that way there. So having the law of solid ground is um, is vital, and you're not going to learn it on day one. You hopefully have been taught that from day one as a person when you were born, with your upbringing, with your family. And as you grow through life, you have that imparted to you from other leaders like your mother and father, school teachers, and stuff like that. And that's how you develop into that leadership kind of role there. The law of magnetism. So a goofy picture. You see that picture there, hopefully on your screen. It looks kind of funny. That's my friend Tim. We were at dinner, a bunch of us after teaching a class, and where we were at for dinner. If it was your birthday, they put this moose cap with antlers on your head, and they come sing happy birthday to you. So it wasn't Tim's birthday, but we said it was as a joke, and just to have Tim put the hat on. So the law of magnetism refers to who do you attract? It kind of ties into the law of influence. Who do you attract and who are you attracted to? Am I attracted to goofballs like Tim who always want to fool around, have a fun time? If I do, that means that I will probably also be the same person in the long run. Or am I attracted to people who have strong moral positions, who make excellent decisions, who are very wise, who are very slow to speak as far as they listen, they process information, and then they may speak? Am I attracted to that kind of individual? Or am I leaning more towards people who are, going to utter their mind, who are quick and rash with their decision-making skills, or can't make a decision, right? Am I attracted to them? And all of that plays in a big role as far as who you become. There's a good saying that we have in North America, and that is birds of a feather flock together, meaning that if I want to be a a um, a very strong leader, I'm going to hang out with other strong leaders because I'll become just like them. I'll flock together with those individuals. If I want to be a weak leader, then I have to hang out with weak leaders and I will become a weak leader. So who you are attracted to will assist in your development in either being a good leader or a not so good leader. Well, that's all the time I have for you as far as my little candid conversation that I want to go over. Hopefully, what we mentioned here is not anything new. If it is, great, because I hope you learn from that. If it's not new and you have been told this before or have heard this before, uh, I hope that it helps to remind you and as a refresher, hey, maybe I forgot about this, or perhaps I need to implement this more as far as being a better leader or as far as that learning step for myself. I need to take the next step and do this to adopt and make it part of my daily routine in some way. So I hope it's going to be hope that this will be a blessing and a help. And any questions you have, by all means, please fire them right through to Africa Fire Mission through Chief Mike, and he will get that to me, and I'll be more than glad to respond back and give the answer to you.
Excellent, Mark. Very good. Uh, we'll uh, we'll open the floor here to some questions and things. Give me a second to find my settings here. Zoom has changed a little bit. If you've got a question, comment, you can drop your question or comment in the chat. You can use the raised hand feature. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. Tell us about some of your experiences that you've had in leadership or any questions that you have. We got a couple more minutes here with Mark. Love that that concept of servant leadership. That was a great way to start out the training for sure. Something I try to do myself when we're leading, and it's pretty apparent when you see leaders that aren't in that sort of servant position. Um, Much rather be led by someone like that too, right? Questions, comments while we've got Mark here with us. You can use the raise hand feature. You can drop a question in the chat, or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you explain more on the law of magnetism?
Sure. Is there a certain part of it that you want to hear more about, or didn't make sense to you? So I'll just maybe I'll re explain it if I can. So a magnet, everybody knows what a magnet is. Right? A magnet, obviously, when you put towards something metal or ferrous, it attracts itself to it and will stick. So right now, on my office door is a big sign saying Zoom call in progress. I have a magnet holding that paper to the door. So as we look at the law of magnetism, I want to, as a leader, I want to be with other people who I'm automatically drawn towards. So I guess it does boil down to who you are as an individual first. If you are a person of high character, high moral value, high ethical standards, you will automatically be drawn to or attracted and want to stick to a person who is also of a very high moral value person, high ethical standards, and so on, as opposed to a person who's weak in that area and it's the complete opposite. You actually will be repelled. So with a magnet, if I take the north end of the magnet and put it towards the north end of another magnet, they too will repel each other. They do not want to stick and attract, as opposed to north end, south end, and they do stick to each other, or they do attract and are held to each other together. So as a person who has certain characteristics, I'm automatically attracted to other people who have the same kind of characteristics because we're the same, we're similar somewhat. And I want to learn from that person. I want to learn more. So I want to hang around that guy more. So as I'm hanging around that person and almost like stuck to them like a magnet to a door, I'm going to learn more. I'm going to pick up more of how they deal with people, how they process information, how they respond to questions, how they get around budgetary considerations with spending money. So I'm learning those things because I'm hanging around those people and I'm attracted to them. When you pick the wrong person to be attracted to in terms of professional development, you're not going to learn anything. You're going to learn the bad habits and you're going to learn the bad traits and you're going to learn what not to do as a leader because you'll be doing it. Again, um, we are very easily able to be, I wouldn't say programmed, but we can be very easily adaptable, that we can adapt to certain groups of people. And if a group of people that I want to hang around with are lazy, then eventually I will become lazy as well. If I want to hang around a group of people that are very uh, zealous and they're always working nonstop and they're have a very high production rate at the end of the day, then I will adapt and become that same kind of person and be a very high productive individual as opposed to being lazy. So the law of magnetism refers to you need to see and seek out who I can be attracted to like a magnet because that hopefully be a good person that I can stick to as opposed to a bad person. If I can relate this to domestic situation, husband and wife, You're going to be attracted to a person who's going to help you be a better person, and that's your spouse, right? Your wife, your husband is not the person to make you a bad person. They're there to make you a better person. So my wife is a very much a great helpmeet that what she does every day just basically because who she is naturally, what she does every day helps to make me a better person because of that law of attraction and law of influence. And because of who she is, that's why I was attracted to her. I know that when I first saw her 28 years ago, actually more than that, back in high school, I knew she was that kind of person and she would be a great person to be married to as far as that spouse because of what she brought. She brought great qualities, great characteristics. She was a very nurturing person. She's able to make me a better man in the process. So in the fire service, I want to be attracted to other chief officers because I'm a chief officer now. I want to be attracted to other chief officers who are going to help make me a better chief officer because of who they are. They have a very high set of standards. They have a very unique way of processing information with regard to money, budgets, how to write policy, how to how to administer discipline. They may have those unique ways of doing things that I can learn and pick up from, and it makes me in the process better. And by hanging around them and sticking to them like a magnet, I'm going to learn that. Does that make sense?
You for the
Excellent.
great information.
Mark, another one asking just to go into just a little bit more about the law of influence.
So it kind of ties into what I just mentioned about the law of magnetism, but if influence means who can I affect with my speech, my words, my actions. And the best example I guess I can use is, politicians obviously are influenced by the voter. So if I want to be elected president of of the country, I'm going to listen to what the voters want, and they're going to influence my decision making so that I appease to them. In the fire service, I'm not looking to make everybody happy, but I am looking to make them safe, to make them able to do their job. And I'm looking to make the public safe with what we do to respond to their help for need. And so I can influence my firefighters in different ways by what I say to them, words of encouragement, direction, good commands. I can influence them with my actions in terms of I lead by example, or I can take them aside and show them physically how to do a certain tactic or how to complete a certain skill. That's with my actions. And so by what I do, what I say, how I behave, I'm able to influence the people to whom I'm overseeing to be themselves better in the long run as well. Does that kind of explain a bit better to you about that particular aspect?
Hey,
It's a
Chief Mike.
pretty
I have a
specific question. This person's got if you're so here's the setting, you're the leader. You got a team of 12 people. You've got one particular individual with unserious attitude towards work. Comes to work late, doesn't meet the assigned duties. Um, you know, how do you deal with them without seeming to be too hard?
So in that situation there, my young friend, that's going to require a couple of action steps. So one, your best friend is documentation. That's going to be your best friend. As a leader, you need to document every instance that person has arrived late for work, or every instance that they're unable to fulfill their assigned duties. And you don't just write down the date, March 18th, 2026. could not complete task, I have to document the date, time, and then explain what I observed. I observed on this date and time so and so coming late to work. His day began at 8 o'clock in the morning, but he arrived at 8:10 a.m. That's part of documentation. So the first thing is you have to document everything, and that takes time because you have to document over a period of time to get an actual or an accurate picture of what you're portraying. And then when you have all your documentation complete, then you're going to fall back upon departmental policy, departmental rules, to help you administer discipline because that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to um, discipline the individual with some kind of uh, consequence that is in hopefully in writing. So if you have policies, you use them. If you do not have policies, then unfortunately you're going to have to, as a leader, document everything and then sit down with that person, have a very direct conversation with them, outlining your expectations. As a leader, I expect you to be here on time for work. That means 8 o'clock is your start time. You're here at 7:55 a.m. That's my expectation. That may be how you have to handle that in that regard. You don't want to be too hard in terms of saying you're fired, but that may at some point come because as you document what you've witnessed and seen over, say, 2, 3, or 4 months, and you make that person aware of here's where you're falling short, you need to correct your behaviors, you need to be here on time, you need to be able to fulfill your duties. If they continue to exhibit those behaviors again, then yes, eventually you will have to lead up to maybe termination. But that's not being too hard. That is you doing your job as a leader by informing them of where they fall short and taking the steps to allow remediation of the person over a period of time. And if they choose, and that's the key word, if they choose not to want to change their behavior, then you have to maintain your course of if you don't, then eventually I have to be a little more harder in terms of the consequence as you go along that timeline.
Yeah, I think you got to be cautious about letting that, when you go back to that sort of law of magnetism, the way things spread, not letting something like that spread to the other folks. You got to be sure that you're taking action so it doesn't spread throughout the rest of your crew as well. And of course, we recognize too that we see sometimes that some of you guys and some of your fire brigades are getting people sent to the fire brigade, sort of as a punishment. They may come from another another part of the government or something. So you guys have a lot of those sort of unique situations that we don't always have to deal with. But you got to really try to take care of that stuff, document everything, and keep that in check. All right, we are getting up against the top of the hour here. We're going to continue with our discussions and things, but we'll wrap up the formal portion of our training here. I know Mark's got a busy day with his administrative duties there. Uh, but let me just give him a big thanks for joining us. He's got some really great insights and perspectives. I love taking classes with Mark. Glad he was here today. So thank you for coming and sharing that knowledge with all of us. And thanks to all of you participants as well for taking the time out of your schedules to come and join us for today's training. We've got plenty of seats available here if you find there are others who may benefit from our training sessions. Please feel free to share that link. We'll continue here on with our tea time, uh, but we'll sign off the official portion for now with a big thank you, and I hope to see you all again next week.